how would you define fitness?
The ability to allow you to function well, to perform well, to stave off injury, disease, illness, with good physical capability, mental and emotional capability. What it is, it's about balance more than anything else, I would say.
People want to put their own labels on what fitness is. As you said, it's a really difficult thing to define. People think fitness is being able to do the splits or run a mile or do a 100-kilo bench press or go to the gym 3 days a week or even eat relatively healthily. Whereas fitness, I think, is relevant to the kind of what is the demands you have in your daily life. I think fitness is to have the physical resources to be able to do the things that are important to you. So you came up with an interesting topic earlier that I think is absolutely going to open up some rants and some wormholes here. But I think to preface this, so for people listening to this and want to know what the topic is to talk about, is have we lost the true meaning of fitness? So I think this really does depend on how we define fitness. So I'll start with you. How would you define fitness?
Fitness is the combination of too many components to define in one sentence. But if you were to look at fitness as as a lifestyle, shall we say, it would be the ability to allow you to function well, to perform well, to stave off injury, disease, illness, with good physical capability, mental and emotional capability. And man, like I say, it's impossible to do in one sentence. I'm just talking crap, really. But what it is, it's about balance more than anything else, I would say. Fitness is balance, and I don't mean gymnastics, standing on a rope, trying not to fall off. I mean having the right combination of all these different things to allow you to perform in any arena. And I don't mean a sports arena. I just mean putting your luggage overhead in the overhead cabins on a plane, being able to pick up grandkids, being able to run away from danger, being able to run towards danger, being able to lift something for fun, and having the right body composition that is not just aesthetically pleasing, but gets you away from the risk of disease, illness, injuries, etc., things like that. Like I say, it's tough to put in one sentence. I'm sure someone could do a better job than me, but that's how all-encompassing this thing is. And that's why I feel not just the industry, but the world's almost forgetting what it is, but especially the industry.
And I think it's interesting there, like, and this I think where people want to put their own labels on what fitness is. As you said, it's a really difficult thing to define. People think fitness is being able to do the splits or run a mile or do a 100-kilo bench press or go to the gym 3 days a week or even eat relatively healthily. Whereas fitness, I think, is relevant to the kind of what is the demands you have in your daily life. I think fitness is to have the physical resources to be able to do the things that are important to you. So that means now we could all be healthier, every single one of us, including Brian Johnson. He could probably eat a steak. By the way, that's a side rant, right? But I'm going to say this. This is my real bug. I quite like a lot of Brian Johnson stuff. But do you know what my real bugbear is? His whole thing is I took my brain out of it. Right? His whole marketing. I took out decisions. The science drives me, right? And then someone asks, why are you a vegan? And his response is, it's a choice. And I go, hold on. I thought you said you didn't do any of that choice stuff. Anyway. But we could all, every single one of us could be healthier. So in that sense, fitness is something we can never achieve. However, if I'm a marathon runner, fitness to me means being able to improve on my 25-mile, whatever it is, time. Now, if I'm just someone who needs to pick up my kids, run around with them a little bit, and I don't need to do anything, I don't need to be shredded, fitness could be 12% body fat, absence of disease, and being able to move around my kids. Where I think, and we can get into the industry and where coaches are lost, but where I think the first thing I find that people get lost is they're trying to... I had a conversation with a guy called Dean Hammond yesterday for the show, and he's an ex-military guy. Great guy. You know, he legitimately wears the clothes that you wear to try and pretend to be him. And
stolen valor. That's what it is.
he talked about like the ice baths and the breath work and all this sort of stuff, and he doesn't recommend this. And he said, like, look, people like, you know, Billy Billingham and all the SAS Who Dares Wins guys are encouraging this hustle, like grind, wet, pushing through, you know, wet clothes, pushing through, getting up early. And like, I think these things can be useful. I'm not against an ice bath, but where I find the problem is that if no one gets to the end of their life and goes, did you have sex for life? Yeah, I got into an ice bath every day. The ice bath is great if you getting up and waking yourself up and having that shock to the system and resilience allows you to work on your business or work in the gym or play with your kids or whatever your goal is. If this stuff now is the goal and it's not actually getting you to do anything, I think these things that people are now talking about should be the entry, not a requirement. If you can get up and get to work and work on your business or work on your fitness or go to the gym and not do the ice bath, save 10 minutes and do 10 minutes extra of the thing that's actually important to you. If you need the shock to get you moving, then that is great. But I think people have lost what it means. Would you agree with that? I know I went a bit of a tangent.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, there's a lot of things to unpack there. I think one is that's a very important way of defining it. It's relevant to what you want to do, because I've got okay cardiovascular fitness. I've got okay muscular endurance, but I'm not going to go and run a marathon. And that's partly because I don't want to run a marathon. And it's also partly because I've never trained any sort of distance that would allow me to even just, wing a marathon. It's not going to happen. Robb's not running a marathon. Robb's not making it to the finish line. Does that mean I'm not fit? And at the same time, the people that are breaking the world record marathons, they're, I'm making this up. I'm not saying this is the case, but let's say their bone density is a little bit under. Let's say their muscle to weight ratio is a little bit under. Are they therefore not fit as well? So, of course, it also comes down to what you want. But we have to remember that to get through this life, it's not just from doing what you want. You need to do a little bit of what you need at the same time. And you're quite right. How many PTs, coaches, influencers inside and outside of the industry that are promoting all these different things, such as ice baths and Goggins-style grind, and there's efficacy in there. From my viewpoint, I forget how to pronounce the word. It's either hermetic or hormetic stress. Hormetic. So putting yourself in controllable, stressful situations that can help control and regulate your release of cortisol rather than the external world dictating when your cortisol is released. I swear it's hormetic stress. So ice baths being one of them. It's an uncomfortable environment. You've got to force yourself to get in there and there's nothing comfortable about it. Certain types of workouts, whatever the hell it is, right? But we have to remember that you can create this hormetic stress through multiple different ways. Intermittent fasting is classed as one of them, which is not that hard to do. A sauna is classed as one of them. And I think 3 times 20-minute saunas a week has way more health benefits than an ice bath on the daily. But which one's the harder one to get into? How many people have to gear themselves up to get into a sauna? No one. You just get in and you relax and you chill. But it's the same hormetic stress on your body. But the ice bath does that little bit more hardcore element because there's going to be X amount of people that go, oh, I could never do that. That's no, I can't stand a cold. No, I'm not doing that. I prefer my lions and things like that. So there's a little bit of bravado in there to go, well, I'm doing the better thing. But if it works for you, why the fuck wouldn't you do it? I bet there's going to be, in the near future, a lot of home ice bath kits that turn into the home treadmill. They just become a clothes rack or a storage unit or something like that. Because there will be people that just love it at the beginning but don't value enough to keep it out long term. But those who are committed to doing it will probably do it for the rest of their life. And fair fucking play to them, man. I ain't doing it.
I think with those things as well, like it's a fine thing because I agree with you. I think there is, and I've spoken about it before. There is certainly value in creating if I can get into an ice shower every morning, like a cold shower every morning for like 30 seconds, nothing else on that day is going to feel as stressful. I'm probably going to be more alert, more awake to get started with my day. I think that's fair. But it's also like the difference between working hard and working smart. Hustling for hustling's sake is pointless. It's a badge of honor, but it serves no purpose. If I don't need to do that, if I don't need to work hard and have a sucky experience to get myself moving, then why would I do it? And I think we lose context because, and here's the thing, I think too many coaches do. You look at their social media, and their social media is other people's social media account rehashed. For example, how many people now, since Alex Hormozy, who's not even in the fitness industry, by the way, how many people are wearing nose strips in the videos? Why would you ever wear nose strips in your videos? It's a fucking stupid look. And Hormozy only gets away with it because he's Alex Hormozy. But you see other people doing it thinking this looks cool. It doesn't look cool. These are things that people wear to bed, not for Instagram. Take it off. You wouldn't wear it on a date. Don't put it on Instagram. But bringing back to that point is that people see other people doing ice bath content, so I need to do ice bath content. And they don't understand there's context. The client, you shouldn't be going, client comes in, let me tell you about the benefits of ice baths, and you should be doing it every morning. No. Let's work your day. Do you want to do ice baths? Cool, great, do them. If you do you want to not want to do them, cool, don't do them. Like, there's no context here. I think people are trying too much to be somebody else rather than trying to be them.
I want to say, whether it was Tate or whether it was someone that worked with Tate. You're going to take it off now, mate. Remember, if you say the word Tate, you just immediately cancelled off platforms. There's two T words we're not allowed to say anymore. I think it was Cobra who said it, or someone who works alongside with him that put it that there are guys that get up at 5 a.m. and they dive straight into the ice bath, and then they get out and they shout affirmations in the mirror. They do their journal, they get a meditation in, they're fasting until 12 p.m. and like a ton of like productivity things. And then there's a 17-year-old kid who rolls out of bed at 9:30, lights up a cigarette, looks at the affiliate stock on his phone and makes 20 times more money than you. Like, if the things you're doing make you feel good and help you to be more productive, help with your energy, because that's a big thing about it as well. If you're going to do all these productivity or stress things and it zaps your energy, then why the fuck are you doing them? So it's got to give you energy. If you're doing all these things and it's taking half hour, 60 minutes, or even longer out of your day, then that time could be more productively spent changing your life in the way you need it to change. Then I don't see why you're putting more priority over something that you're kind of doing for clicks, likes, attention, whatever the hell it is. It's the same with a large percentage of people who are vegan. It's the same with CrossFitters. It's the same with a lot of different niches in the fitness industry that people love to say, I do this. And ice bath's going to be one of them. I'm not completely shitting on ice baths. So I know guys that swear by them and their energy's amazing and their discipline's incredible. And there is some health benefit to it, of course, but it's not going to completely overhaul someone's terrible, stressful, unhealthy lifestyle in the slightest. It's just a tool. And if that tool works for you, then cool, let's go for it. But if all in your life is doing ice baths every single morning and you're not focusing on getting high amounts of activity and looking at your gut health, your joint health, your hormonal health, your mental health, getting to the gym or just training with any sort of resistance weight whatsoever, well, it's not really going to do much for you.
Well, that is the key point, right? It's when it comes to coaching the industry, I think people talk about PT not being a protective term, and anyone can become a PT. And when they talk about this, they talk about, I don't want Steve from Towie or Louise from Made in Chelsea to be selling fitness programs, right? Who aren't qualified. But I think there's more to this.
Yeah.
I think, and again, I am not shitting on the term life coach. I think if you are a genuine life coach, be the best life coach you can be. But be who you actually are. If you're talking about ice baths and productivity and diary management and affirmations and journaling, you're not a PT anymore, you're a life coach. So call yourself a life coach. And there is too many of these things where, like, right, if your goal is to get people to losing weight, right, if you're telling them to spend an hour in an ice bath when they could have been training in that hour because they're struggling for time, or they're not getting the steps and they're not doing a level of activity, how about this? 1 month, try an ice bath. Did it make you more productive? Did it take you closer to your goal? The next month, get out the house and do like 5,000 steps. Compare your results at the end of the month. And if your goal is fat loss, and again, going on to this, right? There's a term in the fitness industry that I know you know, Rob, but I guarantee you that there are personal trainers listening to this that won't know this term. Which, if that's the case, you should fucking check yourself. Is specific adaptations to impose demands, right? Said principle. If I want to train for hypertrophy, I need a specific stimulus to train for hypertrophy. I'm not going to be able to run the best marathon lifting weights. I'm not going to be able to gain loads of muscle running marathons. In the same way here, it's like if your goal is to get fat loss with your clients and your priority is ice baths over walking, then you're not giving them what they need. If they have time after the essential stuff, then great, but don't make this harder, overwhelming your clients more because you're trying to achieve this optimal happiness, productive, disciplined state. When really, ice baths don't make you disciplined. Doing the shit that you need to do for the goal you do, regardless whether you feel like it, makes you disciplined. The ice baths are a distraction.
100%. And that's so relevant with what you say people need to be who they are, not what some other coach is teaching them. Too many coaches that are in other people's programs that just rehash that content. And yeah, nothing's really new, but they don't even put it in their own words because they haven't lived it. They've just heard a soundbite or a principle and they think, oh, yeah, that's cool. Because it probably is relevant for them to do. And the next thing you know, 2 days later, they're doing an Instagram video about it. Like, okay, get it. More people need to hear this information, but you need to really be show how to implement this into someone's lifestyle. And if you haven't done that yourself, you're just lying to yourself. And that comes back to bite you on the arse later down the line. So there's no amount of hacks, cheats, affirmations, stressful tools that are going to rapidly improve someone's life above any of the basics of eating right, getting out for activity, some sort of resistance training, because there's benefits to that away from just the aesthetic side of things as well. But obviously, we need to look at each client as the individual. I don't want 50-year-old Timmy, there are only 50-year-olds called Timmy, to come into the gym and tell me how he's had an entire life of unhealthy eating and his joints hurt and his lower back hurts and he struggles to get out of bed in the morning. And he hasn't had a sex drive and things like that. And I don't want to then chuck that guy on a prime plate loaded leg extension and talk to him about the difference between mid and short and length, or show him, the latest AMRAP, or talk to him about fucking ice baths. Like, what does that guy at that moment in time need? Needs something very specific, because that's what he's going to adapt to, that's going to lead to the greatest change in his life, and therefore a happier, healthier, longer, hornier existence, right? And I say we because I'm in the industry, right? But we're not providing that. And I'd like, whatever you was about to say it. And then I want to bring it back to that terrifying stat you told me at the start of this that hasn't left my brain at all. Like, it's been sitting there the whole time I've been talking, going, oh my fucking God, that's ridiculous.
So, okay, so obviously it's not going to leave your brain. So as I was saying there, like, I really admire, and I'll throw a big shout out, and I'll probably make this into a clip so I can shout them out. I really, really admire Tom Hibbert and Stefan Cazalt. And the reason why I brought up them too is because they are personal trainers. And they take pride in it. Tom might even call himself a strength coach. So he may even consider himself a personal trainer. But what I mean by that is that Tom, I guarantee you have a working knowledge of nutrition, as will Stefan. But they have no claims. You'll never see a bit of nutritional content on their page. They are the best in the world, in my opinion, at writing programs. Tom Hibbert said to me, I wrote a program, at least one every day for 15 years, and he pretty much still does.
Amazing.
Right? Every day, 365 days a year. Didn't take a day off, not even Christmas. Why is he the best at writing programs? And he is, maybe I'm sure he has had amazing fat loss results, but he might not get better fat loss results than, let's say, me, who is maybe a little bit more well-rounded in these things. But I ain't going to get people lifting logs or squatting the numbers Tom Hibbert does. I've had big numbers, but that guy is exceptional. Now, that's his niche, that's his thing, and he's fucking good at it. But the reason why I admire them is because they know there is nothing wrong if you're a fat loss coach, right, with giving nutrition advice or mentality advice or habit advice. And if you want to get fat loss results with your clients, then you need to touch base on these things. If your client isn't following these things, you're not going to get the result with them. But I think people get lost in these things because with fat loss, it's like nutrition, activity, habits, adherence is the thing that gets 80-90% of the work, and the training is this bit to just keep muscle on, that people go so far down the wormhole. And I know coaches that I've never seen them talk about training, ever. I've known people, and I'm not calling out because there's some people who have had conversation on mentorship, and I get it, I understand, right? That you look at your check-in, and the biggest problem for my client that week is they're going out getting pissed on the weekend, and I need to talk about the weekend strategy. But they're like, oh, my clients drop off after the 12 weeks, and I can't get them to continue. I'm like, well, talk to me about your training. Well, I just change it every 4 weeks for something different for novelty. I'm like, have you talked strategies progressive overload? Have you showed them where they're going? Are you using periodization? Are you planning this ahead? Are you using different rep schemes? Like, if you're not mentioning training in your check-ins, why are people, once you've achieved the fat loss goal, going to stay? They see no value in it. If they see through you when you don't talk about training. And at the end of the day, if we are going to call ourselves personal trainers, there is nothing more important than understanding training. Is it going to be the thing that's necessarily going to be the biggest drive of your results? Maybe not, but it is literally your job description. So I've been in business mentorships, and I will say this is not supercharged, because the guys there have incredible integrity. It's the best community I've been in ever. But I've been in business mentorships where on a regular basis, I get coaches. And I understand this if you're a multi-million-pound industry. If you're, and I'll give props to him here, if you're Nick Mitchell, Nick can't write programs for every client that comes into UP, right? He's got to run the business. He's a millionaire that probably should be a billionaire. Steal a line from CM Punk. But unless you're at that stage and you're like a one-man band, and one of your first hires is, could you advise someone how do I hire someone to do my programming? I just don't want to do it anymore. And I'm like, that is literally your job. You should be looking as your first hires as VAs and people to edit your content, stuff that frees up time so you can spend time programming. What I hear when someone says, I know I'm going off on a rant here, what I hear when people say, I want to hire someone to do my programming, you might as well take that line out and replace it with, I want to be an Instagram influencer. And what I realize is that if you've got to the point you don't enjoy your programming already, 2 years into the industry, if that, right, then I would say that you're probably not cut out to be a personal trainer. And if you haven't already got 100,000 followers to be an influencer, and you're already not Logan Paul, then I would assume you're probably not going to cut out to be Logan Paul either. So how about stop trying to be Logan Paul and stop trying to be a personal trainer and find something you are good at? I appreciate influencers take time, but don't. Logan Paul did not start trying to sell fitness programs. Logan Paul set out to be an influencer and took the time it needed to become Logan Paul. I actually have a bit of respect for Logan Paul. A lot of people don't, but I really quite like it. He's come a long way since Japanese Forest. Long way.
Mate, and even that, right? Even that he's not like Vice magazine did something about that for us years before Logan Paul was even on YouTube, right? But the guy's consistent. You've got to give it to him. The guy's been consistent his entire time, right?
He's like an athlete, man. The guy's amazing.
And he's a genetic
marketer,
beast.
Influencer, athlete, podcaster.
Mate.
The guy is clever.
The big thing you said there about outsourcing, I get it. this is the problem. Everyone read the 4-Hour Work Week and lost their fucking brains, or never read it and just heard drop down information from it. And that's another thing, is people now want to outsource the stuff that you should be good at and you should enjoy doing. I get outsourcing some of your content creation. I get outsourcing video editing. I get outsourcing emails and setting up software and things like that. But if you're outsourcing your nutrition, and I'm going to split this into two. Your nutrition coaching, you setting up the things for your clients, you adapting with them as necessary, yeah. Hiring someone to be like a chef and provide recipes, and like, that's fucking amazing, because that's not you. You're not a chef, you're a personal trainer. You might be a personal trainer that never actually learned how to cook properly. Someone I know who's offering this as a service, I think that's fucking phenomenal.
I just want to cut in there slightly, because I think I could, but you're going to go on to a great point here. But the key thing there is that is not their area of expertise. There are people out there that are better video editors, because I am not the video editor. There are people out there that are better chefs, because I am not a chef. There are people out there that are better mobility and yoga instructors, because I am not that. Get these people into your business. Get a referral and outsource that. I'm all for bringing people in to help your business. But the problem I have, the reason why you hire a video editor is because while you could do it, you appreciate there's someone who is dedicated and is by profession a video editor who could do it better. You are the person that should be the programmer. You're the person that other people would come to design programs. You should be the expert there. So if you're now trying to outsource your job, what the fuck are you?
But it gets worse. There's people outsourcing their nutrition. There's people using content creation businesses at the moment to buy a lot of guides that that's a conversation you should be having with your client. And above that, we've got people that outsource programming. And above that, we're now seeing outsourcing adherence. Those are the three things that are the core concepts, the core tenets of being a personal trainer. That is literally
your last one.
You can disagree with that one. That's cool. But to outsource,
I'm up for outsourcing your adherence, because
within reason, right?
I think success coaches can be game changing.
Within reason, there's outsourcing your adherence. That's getting someone to do your check-ins for you. That's getting someone to keep clients, right? But then there's success coaches who it's almost like hiring another member of your team as you move up your business to do other things on your business. That, like, again, two separate, like I said with the nutrition one, it's two separate things. But there are people who are going to see this adherence outsourcing and just outsource all adherence and never fucking talk to their clients anymore, unless they want to record a video or do a masterclass or get attention in whatever the fuck it is they're doing. Like, there's partnering and there's outsourcing. And I agree with partnering. Because you're still involved. You're still doing things. Otherwise, like, say, what are you doing? What do you actually want to do? What you say you're a personal trainer, or you just call yourself a coach now without really understanding what the difference between the two is? No shame in calling yourself a personal trainer, because you can show through your actions, your experience, your results, why you're steps ahead of the people that just count reps and try to sell your Herbalife afterwards. Like, of course you're not like that, but you can call yourself the same title. But above that, like, what are people actually paying you for then? Because all that money they're going to pay you, that's going to go to the people you've outsourced it to as well.
Yeah, so. I think there, like, and there's no shame in calling you a life coach either. Like, no. I make it seem like I'm demonizing life coaching. I'm demonizing life coaching for people that are claiming to be personal trainers. Like, if you've realized that your passions have changed, and that's fair, right? People get into their 30s, they care less about training, they care less about, like, they don't want to study, like, biomechanics and things like this. Like, that's cool. I no shame. And you like psychology and adherence. Pivot and be the best fucking habits coach in the world. I have a lot of respect. I claim this guy a lot. A guy called Tobias Lifestyle, technically a fitness coach. He does do training and nutrition, but he calls himself a habits coach.
Cool.
Right, so he's still in the industry, but he calls himself a habits coach. So he focuses on habits. He ain't going to be getting the big hypertrophy results, although he has got a few. Yeah, but he realizes where his passion is, and he's shifted what he calls himself to align with that. And if you want to talking about ice baths and affirmations and journaling, and that's what you like and you can help people with, then be that. But don't try and put it to the lens of personal training, because now you're not. And I think I like outsourcing success coaches because it's like, as long as you're doing your check-ins and you get and you're maybe your client webinars and your setup and like you're doing the bit that's your job, having someone come onto your team to kind of going like, right, in between, someone does a check-in every Monday, and every other day I'm going to have Jennifer is going to check in with you and just go like, just make sure you are how you're doing, if everything's okay, are you good, and if there's any real technical questions, they'll be like, cool, I'm going to refer that on to Simon and he will get back to you. And it just filters the information and means you get more support because you're not stretched. I'm all for that. But like, do you think this thing now, do you think and again, I'm not slating this, but do you think the rise of online business mentors and the way it's marketed is partly to blame for this? Because we now look at, again, another thing about fitness is this term balance, right? That we want to be able to work, as you said, 4-hour work week. And this is what inspired me when you said this, that we want to be able to do our check-ins from this imaginary beach with Wi-Fi. And we want to work a small amount of time in the day and spend much more time with the family and friends. And online coaching gives you the flexibility. But I think I see there's a difference. I've now started working online, and I'm in that stage where I've basically barely left my office for the last 2 weeks. Right, I need to train more. I need to walk more. Right, I've literally got 9 till 6 here on calls and writing stuff. But when I went into online coaching, I never had the idea of working less. It was never to make me work less. It was to have flexibility with how I work. I'm always open to the idea of working until the evening or coming up at 4 and start work. It's having the flexibility to work from a coffee shop. Or if I have a birthday party, rather than I can't say yes, I can just shift the work earlier.
Yeah.
The mentality for me has never, ever, ever, ever been not to work a lot. But I see people coming into this now going, well, I think this will be easier. Or I think this will be more scalable. I'm like, are you trying to run before you can walk? Do you think the message is the reason why people are now looking for the comfort?
Massively so. And business coaches are just as guilty of this as like certain fitness coaches as well. Because there were fitness coaches that kind of promoted their lifestyle as, well, look at me, I'm doing check-ins on the beach, whatever. Even though the happiest, most fulfilled and successful fitness coaches I know who exclusively do online don't live that lifestyle. They're at home with their families. They might go on a slightly longer extended holiday, and they're also working on their business, and they're also working on their clients. They're not trying to get away from anything. And I can understand people who've been in this industry for a long time who have done, I'll just say 40 hours on the gym floor a week as a baseline thing, because we've done more than 40 hours a week on the fucking gym floor.
However.
And then had to do check-ins on top of that, as well as educate ourselves, as well as get our own training in and try to get some sort of resemblance of sleep. It's tough, and thank God Monster Ultra was invented. Thank God. Fueled the fitness industry for many years. But you've got people entering the industry that are now not wanting to go anywhere near that experience and want easier before they've even dived in at the fucking deep end. And I think you have to do that not just from an experience of, you get to know more about people, you get to understand the craft more, you increase your education exponentially by doing one-to-one before you do online. And that doesn't mean there's no good online coaches out there, but you learn how to fucking work. That's the thing. People scared of work now as well. And the unfortunate thing is that the internet and the ease of access and the low barriers to entry to online coach people now means people don't have to work either. And I think that gives the client a lesser experience as well.
Do you think going back to our last conversation about genetics that we had, which if you're listening to this now and you've not gone and watched the episode, go back and watch the episode. Well worth it. Subscribe, like, share with all of your friends and your mum and your dog. But we mentioned giving people empathy with fat loss, because while we all have the same 24 hours in a day, we don't have the same circumstances and the same starting points. The person with the N64 in the middle of London with all these delivery options is different from the person that lives on the farm that goes and gets the food and goes for walks and etc. One's going to find it easier to stay in shape than the other. Do you think the same thing will apply here, that we're going to see more and more people now not wanting to do the work because they've never had an uncomfortable life? So they don't, they like, it's not that they haven't got the potential to graft. They've just never known. They don't know it's a possibility. They don't know where the limits are. They don't know what the options are. They've never experienced it. So they gravitate towards these options and then don't understand why the leads aren't coming in the door, because they've never actually pushed themselves.
Yeah. And I think hard work is sitting on Canva 2 hours a day with no idea of what to do as a post. And
Or getting in an ice bath.
Getting in an ice bath. They've got in the ice bath. They've filmed it. They've edited it in CapCut for this is the day in the life of an online coach. They'll do their high protein options They think this stuff is hard work, and hard work is giving every single client that you've got the ultimate top level of service that you possibly can. We were capped as much as they could control it. We were capped on how many client sessions we did a day, right? Because the quality would suffer for the people later in the day, because we're fucked. We're fucking knackered. But if it just so happened that we had days like that, we would do everything we could to make sure Matey at 9 p.m. has the exact same session, exact same quality of session as Matey at 6, with it being the best it possibly fucking could, not just giving both a mediocre one. The fear of hard work, again, comes back to the ice baths and things like that. It's the illusion of hard work. It's the illusion of doing something tough. Realistically, how long are you in that ice bath? Not long, because eventually it's going to warm up, right? Unless you've got the super, super expensive one, which I know most of you guys haven't. It's suddenly going to warm up a little bit, and then it's not.
The illusion is a really interesting point, right?
Illusion of hard work,
how many,
right?
and I've probably fallen into this when I've been busy and stressed and things going on in my life as well. How many coaches do you know that's done every course under the sun, but is still a fucking idiot? Like, and I no disrespect. I get it. It's a hard industry. I respect anyone that like really commits and invests themselves to improve. Yeah. I work with those people. I love those people. Because you have to, like, I'm not saying personal training is harder than being a doctor. It's not. Or a therapist. It's not. But however, therapy, at least your study is focused on the avenues of the mind. And doctors, you probably got medicine. Whereas personal trainers need to know a little bit of supplementation, a bit about nutrition, a bit about mobility, a bit about anatomy, a bit about psychology. But sometimes I've seen people do courses, and it's more about saying to their Instagram and having that story. Like the first thing that comes after a webinar, and I've had this, coaches, the first thing you do is, hey, did anyone take a picture of that? Before they go, hey, I've got a question about this programming. I'm giving it a go now. What do you think? So, like, people come off a call, and this is the thing for coaches when you do education. If you're, and this is not hard and fast for all. If you're in the middle of a call and people are chatting, you want to snap away, put it on Instagram. Do it. I'm like, if you are Michael's, please do. I really appreciate it. But if you finish a call and if your first thing is put something on Instagram, and yet when you get to next week's call, if your mentor or education provider goes, hey, have you tried the thing we spoke about last week? Have you written a meal plan with this in? Have you written the 5x5 program? Have you written this? And you go, no. Then question your priorities. And are you really wanting to get better at this? Because I've seen this all the time where people aren't actually doing the homework, yet their Instagram would assume they're on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've done it. I've been there. I hold hands up. This is I'm talking to myself as much as I am anyone else. But the illusion really just brought that up for me.
Then it's easy to call people out because we know what top level personal training actually looks like. And we know what being held truly accountable to a certain standard actually looks like. And it's tough to hold yourself to that same level. Of course it is. But there are people that aren't even trying. Like, I don't want to put a ton of videos of me training on my Instagram. I don't. Especially not at the moment while I can't really train. It's a bit demoralizing for me. But it's also an opportunity for me to create a whole new world of content where, well, this is how you actually train around a pretty debilitating back injury, right? Which a lot of people will experience the same thing. But you've got, guys that are genetic beast, super shredded, that's not really going to motivate a lot of people. But I think the personal trainers who are out of shape, which is a topic we've discussed many, many times, whether questionable or not, your beliefs
right
around
now.
that. Yeah, me as well, but still within reason, right? We still look like a PT on the gym floor. There are people who are out of shape that could be documenting their process of this is how I'm going to get in shape, but don't. And they'll put a small video of themselves training, and you look at it and go, man, you've been in this game for years, and you're lifting less than some clients I've had for 3 months. This isn't right. You obviously don't train, or you obviously don't train hard. And whether that's from fearful of doing the work, misunderstanding of what clients actually need, or what you need to actually do in your life, caught by shiny objects of mindset coaching instead of actual physical work and dieting, or whether you're too far down the biomechanics optimal range and you're actually not lifting any real weight at the same time. We're not helping the people, and this goes back to that stat that is terrifying me right now. That you said at the start of this, that 1 in 3 people in the world, right? In the world or the UK?
Should I share it so people can see it on YouTube? Share screen. Where is it? Cool. So you can see this, Rob, right?
Yeah.
So when we look at this, I think this is really interesting, right? So these are some of the stats I put together for a video for coaching confidence students. So for coaches in this, understand there are 740,000 personal trainers worldwide. So, well, when we look at there was 8 billion people in the world, people say it's a saturated market. Now, is it 740,000 out of 8 billion? It's not that many.
It's not a lot.
There are 2.6 billion people that are overweight. If you generally think that you haven't got clients, then look, I work with coaches. You guys who are personal trainers, you have a 2.6 billion person pot. I have a 740,000 pot. Right? But I think that's really interesting in itself, right? But with 740,000, that's still a lot. You need to stand out. And all the things we spoke about, hard work, giving your clients more, being good at what you do in terms of the basics of training and nutrition, and actually doing a good job with that is more important now, because are you going to be the 10 to 20 personal trainers that really make a difference in people's lives? Or are you going to be the 720,000 that all look like each other with hormosy nose tape sitting in ice baths? But here are the stats that you're talking about, right? 15 million people currently live in some form of chronic pain. And these are just the people that told stats about it. Like how many people are in chronic pain that just keep it quiet, and like certainly blokes, right? That just hide it. And then if you move to this way, 1 in 10 suffer from autoimmune conditions and gut issues. 1 in 3 have metabolic syndrome. This is the one that's in your head, right? 1 in 3 have a precursor to potentially disease states. Like, that is a huge impact. And like the thing I would find with that, and 45% of people on this planet are actively trying to lose weight. So when you look at that stat, you've got 45%, like 4 billion people potentially, just under, that are in the world potentially looking to lose weight. 1 in 3 of those people could be on the path to serious issues. And I think we spoke about this before. The problem I find sometimes, and I get this is another topic for another day. Maybe we put this on the list, but I get maybe we'll call it the dangers of being a men's rights advocate.
That could go for hours. That'll be a good one.
Because I find sometimes it's a weird thing, right?
Yeah.
No one who preaches for diversity amongst races or religions, or preaches women's rights, and again, I'm not saying these are lesser. I think they're hugely important things. No one in those camps ever have to justify their stance. If I want to generally make a point about struggles that men have, I always have to say, I don't mean, I'm doing it now. It doesn't mean that it has to. It means I don't agree with women's rights or ethnicity. But this is a problem that is real. Like, I shouldn't have to make those caveats, right? No. Like, because people don't tend to like people like us these days. But the thing you always get when it comes to men's rights, like, we look after people, but no one looks after blokes. We talk like, oh, well, they should talk more. It's almost putting the problem back on them. Oh, well, men don't talk enough. Oh, men die younger. Men have more suicide. Well, they don't go to the doctor. I'm like, well, are we at any point discussing why that is, rather than saying it's your fault? Well, like, we want men to talk, and then we tell them it's their fault when they talk, and like, without going into that tangent, as coaches for these people, because let's face it, right? And I'm not saying again, I'm doing it again. I'm not saying that there aren't a huge amount of women on this list. Half the population. I'm not saying it's all blokes. But what I'm saying is that 1 in 3 people have metabolic syndrome. Men die younger, on average, and more because more of them have inflammatory issues. So more of them are probably going to be, of that percentage of that 1 in 3 are going to be the blokes. And the blokes are going to be the people that maybe aren't even on that list because they don't talk about it. They don't go to the doctor. But they might hire a personal trainer. They might speak to you. So if you're seeing somebody 3 times a week, you might have a bigger impact than someone's doctor to save their life. And if they're in that statistic, right, you have to know how to help them. And I see, again, have we lost the art of fitness? I know coaches that don't know how fat loss works outside of the phrase calorie deficit. Now, do you need to know and understand lipolysis to be a good coach? No. My surgeon probably doesn't need to know about the intricacies of my body and my digestive system and my hormonal system and my anatomy in order to take out a kidney. We've got an instruction manual of how to take out a kidney. But you know what? If I'm on an operating bed, I'd really rather he fucking did. But we get this with fat loss. We get people going, oh, we'll just eat less calories. Okay, well, how does this work? You should know it. Even if it doesn't actually translate into how you communicate, you should know it. And there are too many people with that stat. Doesn't that stat show as an industry that we are failing?
Completely failing, because the stats keep rising as well. The obesity stats keep rising. The cancer, the depression stats keep rising. Heart rate, heart failure, heart disease, still rising. Fertility plummeting. Testosterone plummeting. More and more personal trainers qualifying or not qualifying every single year. So we're not helping. And it comes a point where the fitness industry loves to shit on GPs. Well, they don't really know. Oh, they're not specialists, things like that. Well, that's what personal trainers are becoming as well. Because if a personal trainer doesn't fully understand the process behind what actually causes you to lose fat, then they're just a general practitioner. They can take you through a workout. They can get you a bit of a sweat on. They can talk to you a little bit about mindset, and they can tell you how to find protein in the fucking pudding aisle at Lidl. But no wonder you're not getting a phenomenal fucking result, because the people that actually understand it as a real expertise and are fully involved with their clients in making sure they adhere to that process as well, are the ones getting phenomenal results. I was at an event recently, a horrific fitness event. I hate these fucking things. But I went there to see our good friend Alex Gates and Pro Coach were there doing a Q&A. And I asked a question, a bit of a generic question, but no one was answering questions. No one was asking questions because the music was way too loud from a flipping Les Mills thing, which had hundreds of people boxing. Anyway, I thought it was really disrespectful. So I jumped on the mic and I was like, all I see in my gym, where I train around the corner, is people in Pro Coach t-shirts. They're big, they're training hard, they're strong, they're lifting fuck tons of weight. And when they take their top off for their check-ins, they look ridiculous. So I was like, what is it about you guys? How are you guys, from a very short time in the industry as Pro Coach, but obviously a long, long, long history under other names, what is it about you guys as Pro Coach that has put you up here so quickly? And one of the things they said was just complete full involvement in their client, not just upskilling their education, not just going on a new course, not just learning a new exercise or talking about mindset or giving away a new freebie or whatever it is, like actually becoming almost synonymous with that client in the process, doing it with them. I don't mean dieting with them, but they're there. They're looking at every single number. They're looking at every single gram. They're traveling up and down the country to look at their client training out of their own pocket. They're going to their competitions, oiling them up, practicing posing with them, taking photos for them, whatever the hell. They're there. They're part of the client journey. And I can't say many, and I'm putting myself in this as well. I'm not giving my clients that level, 100%. It really made me take a real long, hard look at what I am doing. But I know there's so many more below me that are happy to just keep talking about calorie deficit. HIIT is shit, but they don't know why HIIT is shit, even when HIIT has efficacy to it. 10,000 steps, neat up 24/7, everyone. Yeah, cool. How's busy single mum with 3 kids going to get her 10,000 steps in a day when she's got 2 jobs and 3 kids to look after?
Well, that's the thing. There's strategies that they don't know. They just know the soundbite. We also know that. We also know that. Like how many people mock things just because other people mock things. Supplements are rubbish. Well, how about if someone's got a massive nutrient deficiency? So when I rejigged the pyramid, right, the adherence, like calories, macros, and I put at the top a little arrow. It goes the small stuff, and at the bottom of that small stuff, I go the reason why I call it the small stuff and not supplements or meal timing or whatever else is because that small stuff is different to the client. If that client has got major deficiencies or major gut issues, that supplement becomes a much more important thing further down that pyramid. It's not always small. It's sometimes necessary. And I think too many people will slam things because they don't understand them. So it's easier to slam it than learn about it. And that's it. And you mentioned all of a sudden we're all quick to slam doctors without understanding themselves. It's the same way, right, that we go and live, and I'll hold my hand up in this, but I don't criticize people. Unless they're in the service industry. Like when I was in Hong Kong, I wouldn't work as, I technically am in the service industry, but I wouldn't work in a shop, like a local convenience store, in a 7-Eleven, if I didn't understand any Cantonese. Because I'd be like, well, I'm not qualified to do this job.
Yeah.
Right? So if there was a Cantonese speaker coming to the gym, unless they could speak good English, I would refer them to somebody else. So, but like we see people who will go to another country and not bother to learn the language, especially us Brits, and then will moan that like Pedro from Spain, well, you come to our country, I don't learn the fucking language. It's exactly the same as someone going, oh, doctors, they don't consider lifestyle and nutrition, and they should. First thing I would say is that the doctors will see people, they're overworked, underpaid, burnt out, stressed. They see people for 10 minutes that by the time they've come to them, it's gotten bad enough to come to the doctor. This isn't like I've got the sniffles. So by that, I'm a bit fat. They come to them because they've got a proper symptom. So one, their job is to kind of put out the fire so they can get rid of the symptoms, so they can actually start thinking about the lifestyle and they can advise them. And they also realize that most people aren't going to adhere and they're not going to have that face-to-face communication time like a personal trainer would. So it's quite easy to go, right, I'm going to give you the medication because I know full well you're not going to go and do your activity or go to the gym or eat better. So I'm going to do what I can. What's the tools in my toolbox that are actually going to work? And for them, medication is going to be that thing. So before you judge a doctor, understand the tools they've got on the toolbox, because they absolutely do not have the amount of face time to help. If you're a personal trainer struggling to get their clients adherent, what hope does a doctor probably sees that someone once every 5 years have? Right? And they might say it. Doesn't mean just because they say like, oh, the doctors don't talk about lifestyle. Well, I know a lot of doctors that talk about lifestyle just because your clients didn't follow it. But anyway, but let's say they don't. Let's say they don't talk about it. I will throw back. Do you know about the medication your client's on? If you don't, you're doing exactly the same. You're moaning that the doctors don't know about my world.
Yeah.
And you don't know anything about theirs. You don't know about the thyroid medication. You don't know about the contraceptive pill. You don't know about what they are. And it doesn't mean you should be an expert in every medicine. But if you've got a client who's got some medication, at least find out a little bit about what it is. So, if you're in that situation, it's like, well, I'm not saying that everyone has to be a doctor, but either work with the doctor and don't criticize them for the hard work they do, or learn about it so you can have the moral high ground. Because right now you're basically saying, my job is more important than their job. They should learn about me, but I can't be fucked to learn about them.
Yeah, hugely. He not so long ago, well, start of this year really, as semaglutide and Ozempic became a name on everyone's lips, the industry rallied against it. How many people? I love it, right? How many people were like, this is terrible. This is going to be a cheat. This is for lazy people. And with all these drugs, yes, there's celebrities and famous people and wealthy people that just flock to it because they're dickheads, right? But there's a large percentage of people that need this stuff. And the industry almost makes it tougher for those people to get help because we're the louder ones on Instagram going, this is shit, don't bother with this. It was doctors that changed my mind about Ozempic. I listened to, not Make It Rain, for the life of me, I can't remember because it's the only episode of this podcast that I listened to. It was one of the best round table discussions I've ever heard in my life on any subject. And it was about semaglutide and it was every single angle. It was phenomenal. And it really changed my mind. The Nadolski brothers really changed my mind on this. Because at first I was like, God, another drug. This is going to be bad because of the influence that influencers have on and the reasons they're using it. Like there were American celebrities coming out going, oh yeah, I used this like 2 weeks before the Oscars and I dropped the 8 pounds that I needed to fit into my dress. You're like, you're a cunt. You're a fucking lazy cunt. But at the same time, industry hated it. And now James Smith's coming out with a video where he's tried it. Why he's trying it, I don't know. And it's a good video. But
he's tried it. He's tried it to give his video backing. I'm kind of for it.
Back,
right? Ryan Humphries does all the time, right? He'll try stuff to go right. I now have skin in the game.
Yeah, and I get it, right? I think the video was a little bit flawed because it focused more on the weight loss rather than the people this medication's actually intended for, which is type 2 diabetics, not necessarily obese. There is efficacy in seeing this medication for diabetics that might have use for weight loss and appetite suppression, which is essentially what it's going to do. And now that end of the industry is now going, oh yeah, it's great, yeah, semaglutide's fine, yeah, I've always been behind it, but you still don't understand what it is and what it's doing. You just know it's a drug. That's all you know. So therefore, your knowledge is as general as the GPs that you're shitting against. I don't get it.
Well, I like it because there's so many drugs that are like clenbuterol, DMP, where it increases calorie expenditure, increases heat. And then this actually may help minimizes hunger and manages the amount of appetite you much you take in. Now, like the reason why I like it is because imagine if I locked you in that room now and we didn't feed you for a while and you were starving. And then I come to you and go, right, let's talk about improving your training intensity. Let's talk about your diary management. Let's talk about your food prep. You're not going to be listening to me. You're just going, I'm fucking starving. So if you've got people that are maybe morbidly obese, maybe leptin resistant, so now they're always hungry. So if I can, like, I have no hope in hell of changing the habits that are going to cause a long sustainable weight change when all they're thinking about is food all the time.
Yeah.
I can give them this for a temporary period of time and they're now not thinking about eating. As James Smith reported, I now have a better chance in that time of working on those habits, which means then I can start to pull the Ozempic and they now will continue the habits that help them. And so I think this is, and people don't think about this. People are quick to slam because we're in this world where soundbite, clickbait, tribalism is the stuff that gets viewed. And in the same way, I liked that video from James Smith, but where I really was disappointed by him. I'm not sure it's video before or video afterwards. It depends on my YouTube algorithm when it actually was posted.
Yeah.
But very soon afterwards, he did a post about Huel.
Okay.
And how he hated it. I was like, well, the whole point of your Ozempic thing was the context, right?
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't use it if you're a muscle-bound person wants to get in shape and lose a few pounds. But if you are really struggling and need this to start and maybe you're not going to the gym, I'm like, this is great. Like, context of who is taking this. Everything's a tool in a toolbox. And then he went, I hate meal replacement shakes because let's work on how much protein's in a Huel pre-made thing. And it's not as much that I would need. And you should be eating real food and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. But what if you've never, ever, 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 ever food prep before? What's easier, learning to prepare 1 to 2 meals a day, or learning to prepare 4 meals a day? Because real food is just always better. Or you're someone who is busy, right, and doesn't know how to cook, right? The two things. Well, that takes a little bit of that pressure away from you, right? If we can add some nutrition in an easy way to maybe take away some nutrition deficiencies to make you crave less, okay, this is good. Is a pre-made weight replacement shake for everybody? No. But I use variations of them, whether it's Huel or whether it's the shapeshifter stuff that I've got. Like, these things can be beneficial. I don't like throwing, like, I lose a lot of respect for coaches when they throw out things for the sake of throwing them out. Carnivore's diet is terrible. Right, okay, then tell that to every person with an autoimmune condition that it's helped. And you can say, oh, well, it's just food rotation or elimination diet. When they add it back in, they haven't fixed anything. Okay, cool. And I'm going to throw in Michaela Peterson here. You can say that you can slam. And Ted did this. I'm really disappointed in this. Ted took down her talk. Because they didn't want the carnivore discussion, which is really bad show, actually. Like, the whole point was Ted's different ideas. Yeah. And disappointing because I want to be on them so much. But then when you look at that and you can go, oh, like, you're slating Michaela Peterson's diet. She had like a knee and a hip replacement before she was 17, and now she feels better than ever. Tell me that's bad. Like, you can go, oh, well, the long-term ramification. Like, get off your fucking high horse. This person was in constant pain, constant stress, constant anxiety, and now she feels good. I'm sorry, that is a positive win. Just because she may get issues when she's 60, like, okay, that's a consideration. Look at your blood work, and she does. Look at your blood work. Look at how you feel. Look at all these things. Yeah, keep an eye on it. Learn how to add things back in. Paul Saladino's a great advocate of this. Went carnivore, took away a lot of his issues. He's now added back in fruit. He's now added back in honey. And now he has about 200, 300 grams of carbs a day. Yes, he still gets a bit over the top with certain things, but he's a person he's not carnivore really anymore. And so it's like, okay, look at this stuff and work with you rather than saying, oh, it's terrible. Well, I tell you what, if I had a chance to have a better quality of life in my 20s and 30s and maybe have to consider some things when I'm 70, 80, I'd take it. Because there are the times where being in a hospital bed with a hip replacement is the most damaging. You're probably going to have that anywhere when you're 60. So let's put some context to this. And let's say, right, carnivore diet isn't forever, but it is a tool for a certain period of time, and it's not useless. Not everyone needs it, but it has its place. As this meal time, as a supplement, as this fasted cardio, as this supplementation, as this all is. Understand it.
Well, if you look at the carnivore, well, look at that stat again. 1 in 3 people metabolic syndrome. For those who don't know what metabolic syndrome, it's a combination of diabetes, hypertension, and obesity, and it goes a lot deeper than that. But those are like your main 3. Okay, so someone's got high blood pressure, they're diabetic or pre-diabetic, and they're obese. Something like the carnivore diet has real fucking efficacy there over habitual change, right? Over learning balanced macros. Again, it's not for everyone. It's not my first protocol I would go for, although we have done similar things for low carb boot camps, things like that. Like, there's some real, I think most people, it's about finding that balance.
Define balance. Like we said earlier on, it's this illusion of balance when it comes to fitness that we should all like clock off every Friday and have 2 days off. And like, well, some days if you've got a big deadline, you're going to work through the night, and sometimes you're going to have to compromise on sleep. And it's like, have you ever heard the 4 burner theory?
4 burner.
So imagine you've got 4 gas hobs, right? And this is the theory. So, and you've got a certain amount of gas in your gas tank or in your house. You can only use so much at certain times. So if I've got life, business, health, wealth, for sake of argument, it's my 4 burners, I can probably put 2 of them on at 3/4 blast, but if I put 1 at full blast, all 3 have to come down.
Yeah.
If I put all of them on, they've all got to go to the cinema. So if I want to push my business, I can't also push my health, my wealth, and everything else like this. So it's defining balance as regards to this. And then if you take that into this sort of stuff, in terms of balance, well, what's actually important? Because you can go, oh, well, you should have a balanced diet and all this thing. This is the diet I have. It's like, well, no, it's the diet that works for you. Like, if somebody likes bread and pizza and crisps and like maybe a high carb diet works for them, if someone doesn't like vegetables and they like fats, they like cheese and bacon and like this sort of stuff, maybe you go, right, I've tried everything. The coach will try everything to go, don't like veg, don't like veg, don't like veg, don't like veg. I want you to eat some more veg. I need to eat some veg. I need to eat some veg. I need to eat some veg. And the client doesn't do it. And the Batman head against the wall and go, oh, I want them to eat veg. Well, how about you go, okay, do you like liver? Yeah, I like liver. Okay, what I want you to do is add some liver into your day. Do you like eggs? Oily fish? Yeah. Okay, cool. I want to make sure that's in there. Okay, cool. Are you averse to taking a multivitamin? No, I'm not averse to taking a multivitamin. Fantastic. Do you like a greens powder? Okay, well, let's take a greens powder. And so now you've got everything and they're not having to do that. Is it as good as eating vegetables? No. But they're not doing them anyway. So, you going, well, that's useless. Well, now you've just lost so many tools in your toolbox. Throwing in a bit of liver could be such a gold mine to somebody if they like it. And your clients wouldn't even know.
Comes back to what's optimal isn't sustainable or isn't always sustainable. So that person starting off who just can't eat veg, and through your mindset and habit coaching, you somehow get them eating veg for the first time in 10 years, but they still hate veg. We know it's probably the best option for them, but they're not going to sustain that. They're not going to. Someone who then we do this sort of sideways movement and get in extra liver, whatever supplementation, things like that. Okay, we've now got a bigger chance because we're giving them a little bit of what they want, but a hell of a lot of what they need. Whereas when you go the other side and you just try to feed them veg, it's the opposite way around, and that's not going to last. Is a lifetime of supplementation and avoiding that sort of stuff sustainable either? No, of course it's not. But again, neither of those things is optimal either. Optimal really is what can that person do at that moment in time, but it's going to change later down the line. It's going to change. We're seeing this with the optimal bros with exercise as well. Okay, cool. They've got a great understanding. Some have a great understanding of biomechanics and a limited understanding of hypertrophy mechanisms from most of them, but they understand moment arms, strength curves, and lengthen and shorten ranges. Fantastic. You understand a lot more than some other people do. But again, who's that relevant for? Are you saying that because you get validation from saying that because people think you're really fucking clever, and then a few people go try that exercise and it's something new and exciting? They're like, oh my God, yeah, this feels amazing. Does it? Okay, cool. It feels amazing. But you need exercises that are going to work and build muscle for you and strengthen you up and things like that. It can't just feel amazing. How many people jump on a new machine and go, oh, this feels good? What does that actually mean? What is it? It's not hurting. Cool. Then great. Of course it feels good.
I think people also forget that training there is more than one exercise in the training program. So they spend hours trying to make the first exercise in the plan as optimal as humanly possible. I forget. Yeah. Well, do you know what? I could do this with 2 exercises. And you can go, well, that's less efficient. Yeah, but maybe it's more efficient. Because what I see people do, and this wasn't the intended aim of my mentorship, but it's become almost the biggest part of my mentorship, is helping people build niches that aren't skin deep. So we see people on Instagram who are like, I help busy professionals lose 5 pounds without giving up any of the food they love. Then you come into the product and they have this crazy long onboarding procedure with onboarding forms are like 300 questions long. And I'm not saying that's bad. My onboarding forms are long, right? I work with coaches and I work with people that like data. So me having a long onboarding form is necessary and expected. But again, it's me having a niche that people know that coming in. And if they want quick and easy convenience, they know that I'm probably not the coach. But if they want attention to detail and to learn and to get the best results, bang, cool, we're in, we're good. But you'll see people going, we get these long forms and they're busy mum of 3, not wanting to go any of the foods. And then they'll get this optimal chicken and broccoli meal plan. And then they'll get all just macros because you're a busy professional, but you can learn every food in the world with no guidance. Okay, cool. And then you go into the gym and you have to work out how to set up a reverse band on a Smith machine that takes 40 minutes to set up, and then they've got to do an hour of exercise. And I'm like, well, how about you just do exercises that instead of doing the most optimal reverse banded bench press, why don't I just do an incline dumbbell press and a cable fly, right? And why don't I have a meal plan that works with their lifestyle with some of the foods they enjoy, so they don't have to think? And how about I keep my questions on my onboarding to like the bare essentials? And how about instead of doing a Loom check-in video with your busy clients and you send you a 15-minute video that they're not going to fucking watch or watch at 2 times speed, how about you just send them a quick WhatsApp message going, hey, look through the data this week, I want you to change this and this. Good to go? Cool. Because I see this trainers give, and I give Loom because again, I'm the data-driven guy. But I see coaches get Loom and I say to them like, well, do they need that? Do they want that? And I've asked people like go, oh, would you rather I send it either an email or WhatsApp or written or video? And most of the clients say, I don't care, whatever's easiest for you. To be honest with you, I'd probably just rather you just send me a quick WhatsApp. So you think it's unprofessional, actually it's better. So like, again, this goes back to that thing. I think it's a good place to close it, is if there's a lesson to take away from this for coaches, is stop running your business, your marketing, your life, and your education based on what other people influencing you think. Don't do a Loom check-in because other coaches do a Loom check-in. Don't disregard a product because James Smith doesn't like the product. Don't build your program because X coach does looms and resistance bands and like all this sort of stuff. What is your people that you're dealing with, and build a product that works for them?
Massive.
So for that, right, you are let's promote for you guys this day. Obviously, Performer House in person and Fat Loss Fastlane. Where can people find you?
So Performance House, this is Jim, that me and my good friend are opening live location mid-September. Online, probably a little bit beforehand for those who aren't based around the Richmond area or can't physically get to the gym or just prefer the online method. There will be 2, I don't know how we're going to do this, there will be 2 Instagram pages to follow, one for the gym and one for the online. And if you want to learn a little bit more about boosting your sex drive and from a geezer that just loves to talk shit and try to entertain you more than actually educate you, then come find me on the Fat Loss Fastlane.
Awesome, man. And as always, guys, like, share with people, subscribe on YouTube, and we'll catch you very soon.